Sherlock Holmes' cozy study at 221B Baker Street. Holmes sits in his armchair, a thoughtful expression on his face, while Watson is seated opposite, eyebrows slightly raised in curiosity. The warm glow of the fireplace casts flickering shadows as Holmes picks up a piece of paper and begins to speak. The room is filled with the subtle scent of old books and pipe smoke.
Ah, Watson, it appears we have a fascinating puzzle of theological and logical proportions. The matter at hand is divine foreknowledge, omniscience, and the complex interplay of predestination.
Intriguing, Holmes. But how does one differentiate between God's omniscience and this so-called foreknowledge? And what does it mean for those destined for salvation, or, dare I say, reprobation?
Excellent questions, my dear Watson. Let us reason through this methodically, as we always do. Picture this: God, in his omniscience, holds an infinite tapestry of knowledge, every conceivable reality, both fallen and unfallen. Omniscience is not just a broad view, it's an absolute awareness of all things, from beginning to end, in every realm.
Holmes leans forward, eyes sparkling with the excitement of deduction.
Now, consider foreknowledge as a distinct thread within that vast tapestry. It's not just knowing everything passively, it's an active recognition. God, in this act of foreknowledge, identifies those who, when brought into existence in an unfallen realm, would return his love and maintain devotion.
So foreknowledge is selective within the infinite knowledge of God.
Precisely, Watson. God's omniscience encompasses every soul and their choices, but in his foreknowledge, he discerns who would choose to love him willingly. It is an intimate understanding, a divine awareness of hearts that, once awakened from non-existence, would align with his love.
Holmes pauses for effect, letting the implications sink in before continuing.
But it doesn't end there. In a subsequent act, a deliberate extension of this foreknowledge, God elects this group. Those he foreknew, he predestined. And what does this predestination entail? A path carefully laid out for them to be conformed to the image of his Son, culminating in their calling, justification, and eventual glorification.
Holmes taps the paper with a finger, emphasizing his point.
Watson, there is yet a deeper layer to uncover in this theological conundrum. Let me draw your attention to the reason behind predestination itself. Why would God, in his boundless omniscience, choose to predestine certain individuals for salvation? The answer, my dear Watson, lies in the nature of divine love and protection. God, knowing the future in his omniscience, perceived that many of those who would awaken in the unfallen realm, full of love for him, would inevitably face peril in the fallen realm, a world entangled in the seductive power of sin. This awareness posed a dilemma for a loving creator. Could he bear the eternal loss of even one soul that he knew had genuinely loved him in the unfallen state? The answer is no, Watson. His love is far too profound to permit such a fate without intervention. His love for these individuals drove him to take action. He predestined them not just as an abstract decision, but as a necessary step to ensure that all things, every challenge, every stumbling block, every instance of pain and struggle would ultimately be turned to their good.
So predestination is not merely an act of choice, but an act of preservation and purposeful guidance.
Precisely, Watson. God's foreknowledge led him to predestine those he loved so that they could withstand the onslaught of a fallen world, assured that every experience, whether joy or suffering, would contribute to their conformation to the image of his Son. It is a divine safeguard, motivated by an intimate, loving foreknowledge. When Romans 8:28-30 states that whom he foreknew, he also predestined, it reveals God's protective resolve. Those he foreknew to be his, those who returned his love in the untainted state of existence, were predestined to salvation. Why? Because without this divine act, many would be lost in the chaos of the fallen realm, swept away by sin's destructive allure.
That truly adds a layer of understanding, Holmes. It's not simply about selection, but preservation of those who loved him.
Precisely, Watson. Predestination, then, is an extension of divine mercy, ensuring that those whom God foreknew as loving him are protected from the ultimate consequences of sin. It is not about reprobation, as we have established, but about preserving the relationship that God cherished from the beginning. Now, Watson, notice the nuance here. The text, specifically Romans 8:28-30, is silent on reprobation. The focus is solely on those whom God foreknew and predestined for salvation. The others, those not foreknown, are absent from this divine sequence. It's as if they're simply not part of the discussion. No active reprobation, just absence.
So, you're saying that God's act of predestination is exclusive to those he foreknew as loving him, without implying the damnation of others?
Precisely, Watson. The logic is as elegant as it is profound. Those not foreknown are neither predestined nor reprobated. They simply do not feature in this act of divine predestination. It is a powerful insight into divine intent, where only those foreknown are called, justified, and glorified.
I must admit, Holmes, that is a revelation of great depth. You've reasoned it out with precision, as always.
Well, Watson, it's elementary when we break it down step by step. Now, my dear viewers, if you found this exploration of divine logic as stimulating as we have, do remember to like this video and subscribe for more deductions on life's most intricate puzzles. Until next time, the game's afoot.